Guys, gonna read some comments and discuss them, mostly from recent videos, probably mostly the last video where we talked about Christianity, uh, hijacking, basically the Romans hijacking the Jewish religion. And, well, we talked about a lot of stuff, but that's what some of the focus of these questions are. And, yeah, maybe some other stuff. So let's get into it here. Out with the lights. And I'm chilling to some Zeppelin. That's why I got the headphones on now. So when the levee breaks. All right, little background here. That's just one of the web pages. This is the Fruits of the Gospel one, but we're not looking at that right now. On Mormon Truth Videos Gospel Topics Hub, we're going over here to these comments regarding, the master cult using Christianity for world domination. All right. Where are we going to start here? Here's a guy named Greg just giving a comment saying he'd like to contribute to the channel. Doesn't have financial means to do much with it, but I said, hey, you can share videos, bro. All right, on your favorite platform, Reddit, Facebook, or directly with friends, who knows? Twitter. Oh, okay, yeah. So, like, I don't know, yesterday or something, I see this little notification come up, and it's like from Twitter, and I don't usually do much with that, but I have an account. And, yeah. So when I saw it, I said, Twitter. Basically, yeah, remembering probably Samantha of Zelf on the Shelf's saying it like that. And I look and it was from Zelf on the Shelf. And interestingly, they give a lot of good information. I don't know which one of them posted this. I don't know if they collaborated on it. But they said, Jimmy Snow was on there too on this conversation, it looked like. And anyway, they said, maybe I can bring it up. They said, almost word for word, they said, remember when in the LDS endowment, Satan was always represented as he was a black guy? Good times. And I wanted to respond to that. I'm so lousy at it, I couldn't even log in. I mean, I've logged in before. I didn't even set this up for me, but yeah, I was going to say, guys, I hate to burst your bubble on that one, because I'm not here to defend the LDS Church, but the fact of the matter is I was going to the temple before y'all were born, and Satan evolved from Lucifer. In other words, Lucifer was cast down and became Satan, according to Joseph Smith, and that's the way it's in the Bible. In the book of Doctrine and Covenants, and in the Temple Endowment. Just basically kind of taking some Christian mythology there. It's not really supported by the mention of Lucifer in the Old Testament, as it's called. Basically just representing Venus as an example of, the morning and evening star that rises and then falls back down like the king of Babylon was predicted to do. And Satan was never black in the endowment. Sorry, guys, you got that one wrong. You got that one really wrong. So you're saying remember? What do you mean you remember? It was never like that. And like I said, it was never like that, at least not in my lifetime. And I started going in the very early 80s. So maybe you're thinking about Cain, or the, and we've got, so where would we get that actually from Mormon scripture? Um, well, Cain became basically the first illuminated Freemason. Is kind of the way it's being written in the Joseph Smith translation of the Bible, or Moses chapter 5, I believe. And basically created a homosexual brotherhood of satanic Freemasons. There's that's pretty much what it's saying. It just doesn't use the words Illuminati or Freemason there. And they were, so every man, knew his brother, and their works were in the dark. And it would be said in times to come that these abominations, meaning gayness, were had from Cain. And then we find 2 chapters later, those who were called Canaanites, although they don't appear to be descended necessarily from Cain or turned black at the time of Cain. In there, it actually looks like it's post mythological flood time, and they're in the deepest, darkest area of darkest. They're not in the deepest, darkest. They're rotting in the, well, their land becomes cursed and becomes like what it looks like is, it's the Sahara Desert. It says only the Canaanites dwelt there. The land was cursed with much heat after they were bad and killed another tribe, the people of Shum or something. And so then it says after they did that, then they got turned black so that everyone could despise them. And then, of course, that used to be cross-referenced, or in other words, hyperlinked before the 2013 scriptures came out, just about the same time as the Gospel Topics essays started to come out. Yeah, to Abraham chapter 1, where it talks about that Canaanite lineage was cursed and couldn't receive the priesthood. So new speak replaces old speak, and new links and old links, and they make it hard to find this stuff that, affirmed the proactive racism within the church, because now when they have a different story, as Jesus makes his adjustments quietly, he wants to cover his tracks so it doesn't look like he's contradicting himself. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Love how Russell Nelson uses the term adjustments to try to cloak the contradiction, and changes as the church becomes increasingly aligned with the New World Order and being totally PC, brah. Yeah, so anyway, Book of Mormon says that the Lord is unchanging, and if he did change, then he would cease to be God. So, a little problem there. It's a little difficult. Yeah. Anyway, that I can't believe they actually said that, but they did. It was on Instagram, so I wanted to help them out there, but maybe they'll see this. Maybe someone will tell them. Yeah. None of those guys respond to my comments anyway, but I've never seen anything in the LDS Church that actually said Satan was black. How could he be? He didn't have a body. But Cain, yeah, he's the he is the original progenitor of Wesley Snipes, apparently. All right, moving right along. So, we're going to be responding to your comments, which was originally Malibu Morning and wasn't getting hardly any views, so I changed the name, and maybe that helped. Okay, so Randy says this video, around 53 minutes, says he says, I agree that the Jews went into polytheism. Went into? I think they started with polytheism and then went into monotheism. My question is, JEM, I'm guessing that's Jeremiah 31:31, the new covenant and fulfilled. It seems that Christians and Jews separate at this point. The Jews might be in more agreement with a future king of David, Messiah, Ben Joseph, Ben David. Ben just, pretty much means, I don't know, like born of or son of, I believe, like, Jesus ben Joseph would have been or Yeshua ben, whatever, right? Ben Joseph might have been something you'd have someone, claim as a reasonable name for a son of someone named Joseph. Of course, Christianity believes that there was a virgin birth, even though the word that's translated as virgin pretty much just means young girl, I believe, not necessarily a virgin. Okay, David, but Christians nail it down to the new covenant by Jesus. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and the people of Judah. It will not be like the old covenant I made with their ancestors, where I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt. That's pretty much in conflict with archaeology, claiming that the Jews came out of Egypt. I think it looks a little bit more like they were a Canaanite tribe, and they kind of, bear the evidence of that and not of an Egyptian heritage or time of living there for 400 years. Anyway, so I responded to this, about the impossibilities of some of the things that are written regarding that Exodus, etc. Okay. Anyway, I think my personal belief is that, the Roman creators of the New Testament, those who wrote for Titus Flavius or created the allegorical representation in the Jesus of Nazareth character, were, looking at what was there and seeing what they could build on to make it look like they're fulfilling prophecy. I mean, you write something afterwards, you can build on what's already written in there. But this sounds more like it sounds like it's in line with what you find in like Isaiah chapter 2 and so forth, and other places, or maybe Daniel chapter 2, maybe some in Micah, where it's what we tend to associate with millennial prophecies. Basically when it'll all get better, the Jewish God will make things better someday for the people of the Jews, at least, right? It isn't talking about having an infinite atonement and replacing the blood magic of killing animals with the blood magic of shedding the blood of a god. So we talked enough about that in the previous video. I wanted to get to what Tom is saying here with what does he call himself? 3 little bitty piggies, and then also random use here. So these all kind of relate. And Echo Mountain, the Christian gal, makes her arguments, and I appreciate the effort that she makes also. Just because I don't agree with most of what she says doesn't mean I don't appreciate her participation. So I want to make sure that my tone isn't resentful of participation, even if I have animosity towards the Jewish psychopath God or the Roman approval of him, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I don't know how this music that's playing right now got into my playlist, but it's got to go, so let me take care of that. My headphones shouldn't be here to torment me. Okay, good. There we go, little Blackmore's night. All right. Yeah. So basically, we've got viewpoints that are, showing the evolution of religion in the Abrahamic religions here, and uh, I've made a fair amount of the previous video that a lot of this is being commented on in showing just the hypocrisy and within Christianity in adopting this psychopathic narcissist Jewish God, misogyny, racism. I mean, the guy has this Jewish God. Is a tribal war god, and somehow Christianity tries to make him reform into one that we can say he's a nice guy. He loves us, but he's just being firm with wicked people. That's why he can be a psychopath. Somehow trying to justify this primitive psychopath God that is so representative of so many of these tribal religions that practice animal and human sacrifice, which is what I believe still is occurring with the core of the power structure of our society in the network at the heads of these churches and the center of all power, which Echo Mountain, I believe, is calling the cabal. So I've asked her to just see if she will define that before I get into a video that's going to probably deal a little bit more specifically with her comments regarding the validity or non-validity of Christianity. All right, Random Use, who I really appreciate for multiple reasons, is saying, Dodger Dave, you know what's really funny? Not that really any of Mormonism is truly funny, except to those of us who have been witness to the witlessness is listening to the currently encumbered members as they commiserate about their peculiar in particular take on the current grand illusion of church status. They are all being reminded by the brethren that their temple recommends are in dire need of renewal. I wasn't aware of that, but I didn't listen to conference. Ran out of vomit bags. I guess the members are getting a margin call. So their first priority is to get the cash flow primed for their futures market, Jesus stock put purchase that they have planned, for which they know they aren't in the money. But damn, is it fun playing the Jesus market. So for those of you who are not at all familiar with calls and puts, calls are in a futures market, basically you're banking that a stock or a market is going to increase in value, and a put, is basically, it's in order to sell. You're betting on so basically you're going to win if the shit hits the fan. So in other words, if you bought a bunch of puts on stock on American Airlines and Boeing maybe, and Trade Center and so forth, right before the demolition charges and the CGI cover went on television, then you'd have made a lot of money on the 9/11 thing, for instance. Okay, so especially with other Mormon minions' money. Think in some strange and bizarre way Mormons are attracted to the idea that they can pay 10% And in doing so, to this monstrosity of a corporation, they can be grandfathered into a vested position, eventually becoming a preferred lien holder. The magic conversion of Mormonism being the precursor to you becoming an eternal recipient of the non-magic underwear compliant mortgagor payments of the lesser kingdoms, of course. Do not pass go. Pay your tithing and so you can become a Calabian lien holder for those who don't wear magic underwear into the eternities. Keep rocking it, brother. So, what Random Uses, I believe, is referring to there, and I responded, is LDS doctrine found pretty much in section 132 of the Doctrine and Covenants that states that, you know, to get to the highest level of the celestial kingdom, in other words, to become a god, well, you do need to practice celestial marriage, which Brigham Young emphasized was more than just eternal marriage, it was polygamous. The only people that become gods are polygamists, said Brigham Young. And at any rate, that section states that those who don't enter into the new and everlasting covenant of marriage, of celestial marriage, or are not faithful to their covenants, will become servants to those who, are worthy of a far more, in whatever, exceeding weight of glory, or something like that, or the words. Basically, bottom line is those who keep paying will get to enslave those who don't, or who don't make the covenant. Those who don't make it to the top become their slaves, just like the Negro woman who was sealed to Joseph Smith as a servant, or basically as a woman who becomes a goddess that isn't really in top position or equal to the man dude god, because they just pretty much don't get to be involved with creating anything except for getting knocked up, and that's their creation contribution, which got highlighted in a Facebook post where one of the brethren of the past, one of the past apostle, was saying how his wife bore him 15 children, and anything less would have been basically unworthy. So there were some, there's quite a bit of commentary on that, and I entered in to that as well, discussing some of the Mormon doctrines and the misogyny that has proliferated, basically starting with what we've got in Genesis. All right. Yeah, but to be a Mormon goddess, you're spending eternity knocked up. That's pretty much the way it is. And I don't know how that Mormon god has got time to do really anything else, because just to keep up with the population on this earth, he'd have to copulate once every 3 3/4 seconds, I calculated. And then, of course, we've got worlds without number are being populated by him, according to the Doctrine and Covenants. I don't think Joe Smith was really good at math. Nice. Yeah. You find that about the same place. I think that's in section 76 of the Doctrine and Covenants also, where it says that refers to the only begotten of God the Father, meaning Jesus Christ, or premortally called Jehovah, even though that name wasn't made up by the Catholic monk Raymond Martini until the 13th century. Anyway, the mention is made of the only begotten, and then it says, that by him and of him, meaning the only begotten, the worlds are and were created, and the inhabitants thereof are begotten sons and daughters unto God. So one verse after it says he's the only begotten, everybody else, all the space aliens, are actually begotten. So the insanity of the contradictions that the Holy Spirit witnesses are true is is ridiculous, especially when it's only the next verse. Yeah, so thanks for that comment. That was really good. I wanted to yeah, Echo Mountain, you've got several in here, and well, let's go ahead and read this first one anyway before we move into the other one I wanted to especially focus on this. She says, "Hi Dave, I totally agree with your point on the narcissism of Mormonism. We agree very well when it comes to Mormonism pretty much, but when it comes to Christianity, that's where we don't necessarily. But then that's great because it's an opportunity to discuss some of these things where Christian apologetics need to be need to be illuminated." Okay. "Hi Dave, I totally agree with your point on narcissism of Mormonism. We have been a victim of my Mormon narcissist brother-in-law's abuse. He is a counselor in the bishopric. He caused us a lot of pain and suffering. Still suffering the after effects of that. I totally can relate with how destructive the Mormon church is. They forever destroyed our entire family." So, my response here, I'll read, I suppose. "I'm sorry for what you have suffered, Echo Mountain. It is also true, however, that there are some very good men that are Mormon bishops, though I personally was cheated out of a lot of money by a member of a Mormon bishopric. I did a video not that long ago, and maybe a year ago, addressing a particular Mormon bishop and his duty, his or priesthood responsibility. This is a friend of mine I'm talking about now, different guy. In pushing my personal excommunication. While he is a very good man and a personal friend of mine, it's also true that the misogynistic doctrine is sourced from the Jewish scriptures stolen by the Romans, who put together the Bible, incorporating this in their writing called the New Testament to add their approval to this imaginary, misogynistic, narcissistic, psychopathic God, whose actions as the Jewish tribal war god became the favorite god of the Jews, called Yahweh." Okay, so it's just a lot to think about here and to consider, as we examine the evolution of these religions, piggybacking upon each other. Now let me see Tom's comment under a little piggies thing here. There were a couple comments, but one I especially wanted to work on here. Let's pause it for a moment. Now that I've looked here and found that I've got a couple of really long comments by Tom Miller under the 3 itty bitty pig pseudonym. And as I said before, Tom posts a lot of good stuff in Facebook's Mormon apostates forum. Anyway, if I'm going to read this, I'll do it in another video because I'm trying to keep this one a little shorter. I'm up close to half an hour. So anyway, Tom and I see a lot of things very similarly, And so he's looking at the whole religious cult thing here, as I do, as a tool of the empire, basically. And now it seems that he feels that there was a real Jesus character, not the guy in the Bible necessarily. Or in other words, if you listen to a talk that I think was done well by Aaron Ra, um, Aaron Ra says, if there was a Jesus guy, he wouldn't recognize the character that we've got in the New Testament by any means, with fulfilling these Egyptian resurrection and other religions that preceded the invention of Christianity as we have it today. So I just wanted to touch on my thoughts here. So Tom's basically talking about the empire, the Roman Empire, hijacking Christianity, and I generally talk a lot about, or make reference to the invention of Jesus by Titus Flavius as an allegorical representation to himself, which is pretty obvious to me in the way the Gospels are written, uh, evidencing that they're representing him in the timing, the order, and the battles being where Jesus appears and has his ministry and so forth, as well as being obviously a lot of astrological stuff built into this Jesus character and his apostles and all that kind of stuff. But what are we talking about when we talk about the origins of Christianity, which Tom feels that the Roman Empire hijacked, rather than necessarily created. I guess that maybe we just have a difference of what we are seeing as creating. In other words, I believe that Titus Flavius commissioned the gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, who obviously would have been dead before they published their stuff, especially John. So that's why they've got the cover story that, well, he was just living forever. But the other ones all exceeded the normal lifespan of guys that in that era, which was supposedly like average 42 years. And those gospels started coming out like 73 AD. I mean, something like that, I believe. The writings of Paul don't have anything to do with the individual, the human God, human, whatever Christians want to call him. I believe he's talking about the angel Jesus, in Jewish mythology, who was killed by Satan somewhere near the moon, right? But they like to tie this all together and make it look like it's supposed to be the guy in the story. So, what is Christianity? Is it the Christos? Is it the Christos oil? Is it the kind of thing that you're going to hear talked about in that vein? Um, is it is it what the Essenes were talking about? Is it these Gnostic Gospels that I have read, and that Tom in the other comment I believe is talking about the Roman uh, elite were hunting down and killing. In other words, the Roman Church, of course, wanted to be the broker for the god, and so they get rid of the Jesus that or the Christ. Blending Jesus and Christ, I think, is marketing too. Actually, there are various Jesuses. The angel Jesus. There's was there this philosopher dude, and then there's the Roman invention, and then you've got the Christ, the Christos, being anthropomorphized into a man, uh, here, in this allegory, and turning. Anyway, the Gnostic idea is that God, the God or the God power, is something within us, something we can access without a broker. And so anybody that basically was pushing the idea of Gnosticism, Christian Gnosticism, whatever you want to call it, uh, one that didn't require a broker, the Catholic Church is going to get rid of them, right? They're going to murder them because they're heretics, because they're basically eliminating the need for the broker for the Catholic Church. So I think Tom was kind of possibly alluding to that earlier. So blending the journey of the Christ oil and that power and the esoteric knowledge had by the Essenes in what may be a birthplace of one of the things that is considered Christianity, as elaborated on by Santos Benacci, for instance, is, where I think a lot more truth is. Esoteric knowledge, which is hidden by those who give us the exoteric bullshit in the religions that they control, but what is not their own personal religion, as they practice esoteric knowledge and take advantage of us, the Goyim, for whom they have no respect. We are fodder, and if they can cause wars, if they can do something to move markets and profit from us, then there is no hesitation. So these things would take longer to get into detail with. I think I'm about to listen to a conversation between a couple of guys I find very interesting right now. Santos Bonacci and Jordan Maxwell, both of whom I would like to actually meet with sometime in the near future, hopefully. Until we get to the next video, I will bid you a wonderful evening or next day. I'm going to be probably reading and commenting on Joseph Smith and the Kabbalah very soon, as a conversation between me and Randy here we saw earlier was very much related to something that Dodger Girl brought up to me and sent me links on and read portions of, and which was also found in Dialogue, a Journal of Mormon Thought, about 75 pages. And I haven't gotten through nearly that much of it, but I got through as much as she read to me the other night over the phone, and it's very interesting, and we'll try to relate that into Echo Mountain's uh, concept of the cabal, the cabal. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna cut this one short. Thanks for all your participation, people, and helping us to focus on interesting material here, so that we can decide what it is that we believe and what is worth practicing. Certainly, I feel it is not worth following a God who has really no moral high ground in his history. Goodbye, all Abrahamic religions and Abrahamic spin-offs, is what I would like to say and help others to realize is a course of sanity.